guys, thanks for tuning in again. My name is Kranat, and today we're going to talk about the Boss Nextone stage amp. First of all, I want to thank the people from Boss for sending this amp over so I can check it out and share it with you guys. They're not paying me for this video, but they actually let me keep the amp, which is really cool of them. All of the opinions and all the thoughts that I say in this video are completely mine. There's no one intervening of what I can say or what I cannot say, so rest assured about that. Everything you're getting is completely honest. Well, first things first, there's not a lot of bad things that I can say about this amp because it actually sounds really good for what I do, for my style of playing. It's very dynamic, it's very responsive, but if you're a metal player or if you're a heavy rock player that needs a lot of distortion and a lot of tight bottom end and all that, this amp is not going to be for you. So in fact, the Boss Katana 50 that I have is actually way better than this amp for that kind of thing. But if you're a blues player, jazz player, or like rock player, classic rock, you're gonna love this amp. So what a lot of people don't understand about these amps is the fact that they're not digital amps. So yeah, they have a couple of digital effects built in, but the power amp section and the preamp section are actually analog. And what's cool about the Nextone range is that they have 4 different power amp sections voiced with different kinds of tubes in mind, with different kinds of power amp tubes in mind. So for example, this one has the 6v6, like a Princeton or something like that, the 6L6, which is a deluxe reverb or a super reverb, and then they have EL84s based on a Vox amp, and also the EL34s, which are the classic Marshalls. Now again, there's not any digital modeling going on. There's actually 4 different analog outputs that you can choose with this switch right here. So that makes it very cool, and it feels way better in the hands than a regular digital amp, which has that fizziness to it. It doesn't have that dynamic response that you would get from a tube amp, for example. The layout of this amp is very simple. So it's a 2-channel amp, clean and elite channel. There's a button on top of the panel that you can choose from both channels. The clean channel only has a volume knob, and the gain channel has a volume and a gain knob. So you can add more saturation with the gain knob and keep the volume down with the volume knob. Also, this amp has a shared EQ for both channels, bass, mids, and treble. And you also have 2 effects, the delay and reverb on top of the panel, but you can also access a tremolo if you press the button on top of the delay button. There was only one thing that I was not happy about it when I got the amp, and it was the fact that I couldn't access the tremolo from the top panel. But a couple of days ago, Boss actually released an update for this amp, the version 3 of it, and they solved that problem. So if you want to access the tremolo, you just have to press the button on top of the delay, and it's going to change from delay to tremolo, which is very neat in my opinion. There's also a tap tempo where you can choose the speed of the delay or the tremolo. It depends on what effect you like. And as I said, the reverb is also digital, and you can choose between spring, plate, and hall. To do that, you're going to have to connect it to your computer and change it. I think it comes stock with a plate reverb, which I think it sounds very nice. And I keep it at like 1 or 2 o'clock all the time because it sounds lush, and I'm a big fan of reverb, so why not? And we also have the presence and master volume knob. So what I try to do with this amp is keep the master volume up a little bit so it can saturate, it can get you that feeling of a tube amp. And I also leave the power at half watts. So talking about power, this amp is a 40 watt amp, and it's a loud 40 watt amp. I would actually be very, very comfortable to gig this amp because it is really loud. As I said, I have it on the half watt mode, and it's plenty loud in the room here, and it just feels good under the fingers. But I haven't tried it yet, but I think that this can definitely hang with a loud drummer. So yeah, 40 watts, you can scale it down to 20 watts, and you can scale it down to half a watt. And you can also scale it down to 0.2 watts with the new update that I just mentioned. And last but not least, we have the knob that we can choose the power amp section that we like. So at the moment, I'm on the 6L6, and the intro that you heard was all done with the 6L6 mode. And I also have the Line 6 HX knob XL plug straight into it. A good thing about this amp is that it has an AB power section, which means that it actually takes pedals really well. So you can use it as a pedal platform. It takes digital pedals really well, and it certainly takes analog pedals really well. So as a clean pedal platform, I would definitely suggest this amp. And for those sweet edge of breakup tones, I think you can't beat it for the price and for what it is. It's not that heavy. It's very reliable, and as I said, I would be very comfortable to gig this amp with a loud drummer. And I mean, if it's a big venue and you have the chance to mic it, I think it's going to be perfect for that. Talking about mics, I'm recording everything with my Lewitt LCT 140 Air, and it's going straight into my interface. And I don't do any post-production or anything like that. I just master it with Isotope Ozone, and that's about it. So the way that I use this amp is actually just a panel setting, and I tweak the knobs on top, and that's about it. So I haven't gone deep into the editor, which I plugged it in today on the editor, and it has a lot of options for you to choose. So if you want to tailor a sound that you have in mind, it's definitely doable with all the settings that are in the editor. So if you're looking for something like that, for like deep editing, this is a good amp for that as well. But what I like about it is that it also works for someone like me that just wants to plug into the amp and get a good sound, and that's about it. So if you want a video that I deep dive into the editor and everything like that and get as many tones as possible from this amp, leave a comment under the comment section down below, and I'm definitely going to do that for you if you want that. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a second camera so I can show you the settings in real time, but if I change something, whatever I do to the amp, I'll let you know. So without further ado, let's start with the Eastman humbuckers. The 6v6 mode EQ is almost around 12 o'clock, everything. And also the volume and the master volume are at 12 o'clock. Neck pickup, humbuckers, reverb at 2 o'clock or something like that, and it sounds something like this. Now if we jump to the 6L6, you're going to hear immediately that there's more headroom to it, and it sounds like this. There's not a lot of difference, but you can definitely hear that the sizzle is gone a little bit because the amp is not compressing and it's not distorting that much because I totally changed the output section to 6L6. Now let's grab a Tele and put it on the EL84 setting. So here's my Classic Vibe Telecaster. The amp is now on the EL84 setting, so I'm going to cut some treble, I'm going to add some bass. So treble's still at around like 10 o'clock or something like that. And the bass is around 1 o'clock. I also forgot to mention this amp, the preamp section has a boost setting, and it also has a tone button. So what you can do is you can boost the amp a little bit. For example, in cases like this where you have a guitar with humbuckers that has more output to it, and then you switch to a Telecaster, for example, in this case, and you want the guitars to feel a little bit similar volume-wise, and you just press in the boost, and you can also press in the tone for like brightening it up a little bit. But in this case, I just need the boost, so I just engage the boost, and it's also foot switchable if you have the GA-FS foot switch. And it sounds something like this with the EL84. Bridge pickup. Now for the EL34 setting, we're going to use this beautiful guitar here, the PJD St.John, which has a P90 and a humbucker. And we're also going to jump to the lead channel. So let me set that up and see how that sounds. can definitely hear my neighbor stumping something, so I don't want him to call the cops, and that's going to be it for the Marshall tone. But it sounds heavenly, and it definitely cuts through the mix. So if you're playing with a band, I think that tone is going to get you places. So that's going to be it for today's video with this amp. I'm definitely uploading more videos about it because we didn't even scratch the surface of what this amp can do. And as I said, I can definitely recommend it if you're looking for an amp to practice with, if you're looking for an amp to gig with, because this can practically do anything. Unless you're a metal player and you want to chuck, I don't think this is the amp for you. But if you're a blues player or a rock player or a jazz player, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this amp. So I have no issues at all suggesting this amp and recommending it to you guys. So for example, I've fallen in love with my Vox AC10 because it does that one thing pretty well. But on the other hand, the Nextone here does everything very decently. It definitely holds up to the Vox AC10. And in fact, the 6L6 output mode, I really enjoy it in this amp, so it gives me a lot of dynamic response. So if this amp only had the 6L6 mode, I'd definitely buy it if I was looking for something like this. Again, as I said, if you're a metal player, you're better off with the Boss Katana 50, but for more organic tones and tube-like tones, this does the job. It's amazing. So I'm gonna do a lot more videos with it, as I said, because we didn't cover everything and I don't want my video to be 3 hours long, but you're gonna see this amp on my channel a lot. Some other features that I didn't mention that this amp has is that it also has a USB interface, an audio interface, so you can plug it directly into your computer and record. And on top of that, it has a headphone out, a line out, an effects loop, which is really cool for this price. And it also has the foot switch, so the single foot switch out input, and also the big GAFC foot switch input. Alright, so that's going to be it. If you have questions about this amp, if you want me to do a specific video about this amp, please let me know under the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, because that definitely helps me a lot. And I will catch you with the next video. So stay safe and have a good one. Bye-bye.